handle that. Commissioner Marion?
Here.
Commissioner Naughton?
Here.
Commissioner Osborne? Here. Commissioner Berkowitz? Mayor Fisher?
Here.
All here except Commissioner Berkowitz.
Will you tell me ahead of time what you're going to do?
That's what treasurer's job.
Okay, we'll have pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll have a moment of silence to contemplate whatever I'd like to contemplate on. We'll have the approval of the minutes of the 13th. I believe we do not have the minutes, is that correct? So we cannot do that. Report on the executive sessions of October the 18th and 19th.
Actually, the minutes aren't here either, but I can give a report. If you would like. We held an executive meeting on Sunday, November the 18th at 5 o'clock.
I think you should have the minutes.
Oh, I know you think I should, but I don't, because
Well,
I didn't
so
have a
then
chance
we'll
to
move
write
on
them.
to business items.
You're only required to report on it at the next meeting. And that's what you're doing, you're
Yes.
reporting on it at the next meeting.
Okay,
So you can proceed.
Okay, I'm giving a report, I'm not reading it. We held an executive session on Sunday, November the 18th at 5 o'clock in the second floor of Town Hall. We met and Commissioner Naughton introduced a motion to go into executive session, and I believe I seconded it. The topic of discussion was personnel matters, personnel affairs. We voted to go out of executive session at 9:30, and the meeting was adjourned. We re-adjourned on Monday, November the 19th at 8:30. About 8:35 p.m. To continue the discussion from Sunday, November the 19th. We again discussed personnel issues. We sealed the minutes of the meeting, made a motion to go out of executive session, and adjourned the meeting at 9:20 p.m.
Okay, next item is the ordinance 21, 2012-05, revised executive session.
Ethics.
Oh, revised ethics ordinance.
Mayor, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen.
I think it would be better to face the audience rather than us.
This is
Well,
for-
actually, I'm chatting, I'm talking to you. At this point, our last time that we met,
Well, here, use the mic.
no, that's all right.
But the people in the back can't hear.
We can hear
Yes,
fine.
we
We
can.
can hear fine.
Last time when we met, I went over the ethics ordinance and gave a summary presentation as to what it included, because you did not want to pass an emergency ordinance utilizing the term emergency. Once I had gone through the summary, it was all of our impressions that you could pass the ordinance at that point because it would no longer be considered an emergency ordinance. I was wrong in that regard. There had to be a 2-week delay, a delay from the time of the reading of the ordinance into the minutes of the town to allow citizens' comments, anything that wished to come up. So at this point, I am asking you to repass that ordinance and put it into, make it official as far as the town is concerned, make it an ordinance that is by law the ethics ordinance for the town of Rising Sun.
I make a motion that we accept ordinance 2012-05, the revised ethics ordinance.
A second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? I'll take the first discussion. There's a letter I saw in the town today that we're having a hearing in January on a waiver of the ethics ordinance. Now, what is that all about? You know?
I have just found out or heard of that letter. That waiver, I think, was based on the fact that we requested a waiver back in June of 2012 because we were not yet in compliance with the state's requirements. That waiver, because of the slow mechanisms of the state and the way that they move, they never got back to us until most recently, within the past week. Within that period of time, since we requested that waiver, we have gone ahead and created the ethics ordinance that we believe the town of Rising Sun should incorporate. And as such, we are basically saying we do not need the waiver any longer. So we are asking you to go ahead and pass the ordinance. An ethics ordinance, as far as the state is concerned, did not apply to towns with a budget of less than $1 million. Our operating budget is approximately $4 million. And as such, we wouldn't come under any exemption from the incorporation of an ethics ordinance into the town. So as such, I would say, please go ahead and pass this ordinance. And basically, that would be how I would answer your question.
Well, I think we need to look into that. I just came to my attention today or yesterday. And, you know, I like to know what I'm doing. And I am at this point confused about it. And when I get confused, I like to find out the facts so I can be
Well, Mayor,
sure.
I would suggest to you that perhaps we have presented this ordinance something like 75 days ago, and I use that as a hypothetical number. It's close there too. Now bear with me a second, please. You have had a lot of chances to review this ordinance, to read it in its entirety numerous times, to understand it, to comprehend it. Now, I would suggest to you that this ordinance does not in any way, shape, or form, as I said the last time, place any onerous stipulations upon anybody that is an elected official, is considering running for office, or is a volunteer for the town. That being said, and I'm going to do a little history lesson here, just bear with me for just a minute if you would please. Back in 1830, they created a law called the Prudent Man Law. And basically it directs trustees to observe how men of prudence, discretion, and intelligence manage their own affairs. A trustee is a fiduciary. A fiduciary is required to invest assets as a prudent man would invest his own property. That was written for corporate law, for corporate trust. But I would suggest to you that each of you and all the rest of the citizens of the town have invested yourselves in us as elected officials, volunteers, employees of the town. And as such, we have a prudent man responsibility to do as much as we possibly can to protect the town, protect your investment in the town, and to establish ordinances which would preclude anything from possibly happening as far as anything that we could possibly do that would harm the town and harm your investment in the town. We are the trustees for the citizens of this town in their investment in us. And to not do so, and to not do so in a readily, an immediate manner, would not be what a prudent man does. Would you not agree? And I am sure you are a prudent man.
Well, but I don't agree. Because I think that the state law, we can use the state law, and I don't see why we propagate all of this other paperwork when we have a law that meets the state requirements from the state. And it's only 10 pages long, and yours is 28 pages long.
Chip,
Well,
if you don't mind,
please.
since Jay was in the meetings for the ethics ordinance, I think we should give him an opportunity to speak if you don't mind.
Please.
If he wants to add a little bit.
I can give you more details than you want to hear on the ethics, but I think since we're at that point, let me bore you with this. The state legislature passed a law that became effective in 2010, in April, that said all municipalities and county governments have to have an ethics law that conforms to what the state law is. And there's 3 areas. There's the conflict of interest area, there's financial disclosure area, and there's the lobbying proportion, so a lobbying regulation area. That law said that municipalities had, from 2010 till October of 2011, and I've got the dates correct, those are 2010 to 2011, and all municipalities had to have their ordinances adopted by October 2011. Now, if you check your calendar, you find out it's November of 2012, and Rising Sun has not adopted its ordinance yet. So, in June of this past year, when they realized they hadn't taken any steps to adopt this ordinance or address this at all, they needed to do something with the State Ethics Commission, who is the group of the state that oversees this, to tell them they weren't just simply blowing this off, they were taking steps. And so they applied for an exemption. And an exemption was a 1-page form that basically says, we'd rather not do this at all, but if we have to do it, we'd like to be exempt from the portion, and the portion we talked about is the lobbying portion. Because how many lobbyists have you seen come to these meetings and make presentations? None. So we'd like to be exempt from that. That was made in June, and that satisfied the state to say, yes, Rising Sun, you're moving ahead with what's happening. So we're not as bad as we could have been because we should have had it adopted in October of 2011. They responded just recently in November saying the hearing to talk about this will be on December 6th. And that hearing will happen at the State Ethics Commission. The letter that came in this week or today was a response saying the December 6th hearing is canceled and it's moved to January. Okay, so that's the hearing that we've been talking about. I have several other municipal clients, one of very similar size. They have a $4 million budget. They have 3,500 people in there. They wanted an exemption as well. We applied, did the same process, all my clients did, and the State Ethics Commission held a hearing on that, and they said basically, if you have a budget over $1 million and you have a population over about 2,000, they're going to require you to have financial disclosures and conflict of interest laws, because it's a significant amount of money. But they will not require you to have the lobbying portion, which is exactly what we've lined ourselves up to do. So what we look at is saying the Ethics Commission, your local Ethics Commission, had a tremendous amount of work to figure out what is going to fit our town, your town. And so they used from June until this was introduced about 70 days ago to come up with what the law should be so we all can get comfortable with it. And at this point in time, it's just ready to be adopted. You'll notice if you read the ethics ordinance, it mirrors the state on conflicts of interest and financial disclosure because it has to mirror the state on those. Those are the exact laws. So when you say there's a state law that applies, there's a state model that you have to adopt. You cannot get out of adopting your own. You must do something. You will also notice if you look at your current ordinance that we're talking about, there is no lobbying portion in there because we felt it's not needed and it's unnecessary. If the state doesn't grant that waiver in January, we will have to come back and add that portion in, although that's highly unlikely that that will happen. The only other portion that your citizens, your committee decided you wanted to enact that is not part of the state law is campaign finance issues. Okay, and we hear that on the Senate level and the congressional level, but the idea is if you want somebody to run for office and you give them money, there is no regulation of that in Rising Sun. The state law does not apply here. And basically your citizens decided that's not the way they want to do things. So they got a model finance law, which other towns in the state have, and they basically are adopting it as part of the ethics ordinance. So that's why it's a little longer than other places. So that when you run for office, you are required under state law and local law to fill out a financial disclosure form, and you're also required to fill out campaign finance forms to see who is giving you money and how you're spending the money to run for office. And that's what it does. It is very 20-some pages. It wasn't really fun to write, but that's what it does. The state has sent a letter saying that law complies with what the state would require. So it's just a matter of doing it. What, 14 months too late, but doing it nonetheless. So I hope that gives you the whole chronology of ethics.
But why can't we use the state law that's only 10 pages long, the sample one that the state provided?
He just read it to you. You have used the conflict of interest portion, and you have used the financial disclosure portion, and the extra portions are how you administer it locally. You have an ethics board, how can you be a member, things that the state law doesn't deal with. And then the second part that I just said was the financial statements for campaign finance. That's why.
We have a motion on the floor, I believe.
This is just a discussion piece. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. 3 and 1. Okay. The next item is policy.
Thank you, Chip.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving me the compliment, Chip. Policy violations. I tried to find out what this was all about, but I haven't found out yet, so somebody's gonna have to tell me what it's all about.
I'd be happy to, Mr. Mayor, if I may. Thank you very much. This is, well, what I'll do is I will read this into the record first. This is an act, this is regarding on the agenda, number 6, business meeting items, policy violations. Act of Censure 2012-1, Town of Rising Sun, Cecil County, Maryland. Board of Commissioners censure of Mayor Robert Fisher. Whereas the authority of the town government rests in the mayor and 4 commissioners of the Town of Rising Sun, and whereas this form of government, known as a weak mayor and commissioners form of government, requires cooperation among the elected representatives to accomplish the executive and legislative functions of government for the benefit of the citizens of Rising Sun. And whereas cooperation is defined as the action of acting jointly with another towards a common goal, and whereas as elected officials, elected by the democratic process of majority vote, it is not practical to believe that the officials will agree on all matters, these decisions by the mayor and board of commissioners are reached by majority vote. And whereas such decisions, once reached, determine the direction or action on a matter for the town and are expected to be observed and adhered to by all officers of the town, regardless of their personal position or feelings on the matter. And whereas the mayor, upon taking office, appointed, with the consent and approval of the Board of Commissioners, various commissioners as liaisons to the various departments to oversee the day-to-day operations of said departments. And whereas one such appointment was of Stephen Naughton to be Commissioner of the Water and Sewer Department. And whereas due to the complexities, liabilities, legalities, and money involved in the construction of the new wastewater treatment plant and its impact on the town's finances, lawsuits with developers, judicial orders with the Maryland Department of the Environment, and the very future of the town, the Mayor and Board of Commissioners as a body unanimously voted that all matters related to the construction of the new wastewater treatment plant shall be handled solely through a project manager, and that project manager shall be the town administrator Calvin Bonenberger Jr. And whereas several incidents have occurred where Mayor Robert Fisher has acted in direct disregard with this directive, voted on by the Board of Commissioners, which endangered himself and others, caused delay to the construction project, caused added expense to the construction project, and created additional liability to the town from neighboring property owners. And whereas, as egregious as these actions are individually, the totality of these actions show that the Mayor Robert Fisher has no intention of abiding by the decisions made by the Board of Commissioners and seeks to act unilaterally without board approval, and many times in direct conflict to written directives of the board to take actions which are not in the best interest of the town. And whereas, as a review of the charter of the town of Rising Sun shows that it is beyond the power of the Board of Commissioners to remove or otherwise suspend Mayor Robert Fisher for his actions which are not in the best interest of the town and in violation of the Board of Commissioners. And whereas the only available avenue to the Board of Commissioners to address this misconduct is to publicly censure Mayor Robert Fisher for his inappropriate conduct, a censure being a term used for the formal condemnation by the elected body of one of its members. It is a reprimand aimed at the reformation of the person and prevention of further offending acts. Now therefore, we, the Commissioners of the Town of Rising Sun, Cecil County, Maryland, do hereby censure and condemn in the strongest terms Mayor Robert Fisher for his reckless disregard of the actions taken by vote of the majority of the Rising Sun Board of Commissioners to address the manner in which all aspects of the wastewater treatment plant construction and items related thereto are handled. Such actions show his contempt and disregard for the democratic decision-making process utilized in the governing process, and his disdain and lack of respect for his fellow elected officials by his failure to abide by the board's decisions reached in cooperative process when such decisions do not coincide with his personal agenda. We further believe that by engaging in such conduct, Mayor Robert Fisher has breached his duty as an officer of the Town of Rising Sun. I make a motion for active censure 2012-1.
I second the motion.
At this point, Mayor Fisher, I'd like you to recuse yourself from presiding at this so that you can take an active part in the discussion.
I can take an active part. I'm a member of
I'm asking you to recuse yourself from being the presiding officer of this part of the meeting, and so that you can fully participate. Thank you. So we have discussion. Stephen?
Thank you, Ms. Osborne. Just a little background, because although much of the ideas and wording are mine, there's a lot of legalese in here. I'd like to just take a few minutes to present a little background why we're doing this, or actually I guess some foundation to explain what I meant by weak mayor and commissioners. I've learned a lot in my time as commissioner through workshops with Maryland Municipal League, and I've learned, one of the things I learned right out of the gate was that we here in Rising Sun have a weak mayor system, or a commission or a board, which means that essentially we are all co-executives and co-legislators. Other larger towns often have an executive mayor and a city council and a council president. And the executive mayor does executive things such as making appointments, and the legislative body, the city council, does legislative things. Here in Rising Sun, we do all those things jointly, and we do all those things by majority. And what we are facing here, and the reason why I've moved this act is because the mayor acts without consensus of decisions made by the board. And some of these things, I mean, the wastewater treatment plant project is a multi-million-dollar project. And there are, as I said in the act, legal issues we are facing. We are facing delays, and I'm going to mention some of the things specifically. One of the problems was cutting trees on the site, stopping at the site while cutting trees. One of the things was stopping work because a site stop that you made, sir, stopped work regarding the project, causing discussion with contractors, and contractors wanting to come to meetings and discuss things with engineers. Also, and we've talked about this in our meetings, dealing with our former town engineer, RKK, you directed against our vote and against the advice of our council that we sign an agreement, which was never signed, which would have put the town at legal risk for expenses. Insisting on attending pre-construction meetings when we have, by our resolution, assigned the duties, the responsibilities for being the point man for the water sewage treatment plant construction to Calvin Bonenberger, and secondarily to me as the liaison between the board and the contractors. Calvin is the project manager, I'm simply the liaison in my role as commissioner. The idea that you floated, proposing the idea that the site be open to the public at any time, which violates OSHA laws and would cause significant liability. This caused further written directives from the town and problems with the contractor. Telling the contractor we're behind schedule, and that may have caused the contractor to rush the grading project near a property line without permission, and that created another liability for us. And then, even more recently, I guess it was last Monday, last Sunday actually, I got this letter dated November 18th, oddly enough addressed to Calvin Bonenberger, his name scratched out and then my name written in. I hereby request that I be permitted to accompany you to the monthly progress meeting on the sewer project on November 19th, 2012. Sincerely, Robert Fisher, Mayor of Rising Sun. I signed a letter which said, in response, Mayor Robert Fisher, as the Commissioner of the Town of Rising Sun and the Commissioner for Water and Sewer, I hereby deny your request to attend the monthly progress meeting on November 19th, 2012. Sincerely, Stephen Naughton, Commissioner of Rising Sun.
Can you hear in the back?
Yes, we can.
Just fine.
The reason I wrote this letter was because when I was given this letter, you then said to me, well, what is your answer? Can I go? And I said, no. And you said, well, I'm going anyway. So I decided that it would be better to actually have a piece of paper indicating that you couldn't go. And I guess foundationally, what we're talking about here is that at this point, your claim that you're the mayor and your repeated claims that I'm still the mayor really are no longer good enough, because we are all co-executives and co-legislators. to say that you are the mayor does not give you the right or the authority to ignore actions taken by this board. If a majority of the board passes them, they become the law of the land here in Rising Sun. They become resolutions that we all must abide by, whether we like them or not. And I can tell you in my time as a commissioner, there have been votes taken which I voted against or which I didn't agree with, but I have defended those because they were taken by the majority. And it is my responsibility as an officer of the town to execute the laws, resolutions, ordinances of this town. I would just want to simply close for now by saying that this gives me no pleasure. I don't enjoy doing this. I am not doing this because this is something that I dreamed of doing when I took office. It was not my intention, it was not my dream to have to write an act of censure for a fellow board member. But frankly, it is a pattern of behavior that has become clear to all of us on the board that has made this action necessary. Thank you.
Commissioner Marion?
My comments are going to be short. I fully believe that the person that, Bob, you need to look in the mirror and see that you're the reason that we had to do this. You continue to act unilaterally against the board when we make decisions, and we can't afford the delays. We can't. So, thank you.
Mayor Fisher?
Okay, first of all, you better get your facts right. I told you that, but I was told that I should cool it and not cause any disturbance. But what you're saying is not based on facts. I appeared at the meeting, and the two representatives of the contractor said they had no problems with me. Now, I don't know who's right, you or them, but they're the ones that are on site, and they have no problems whatsoever with me. Now, I can't understand why you persist in propagating falsehoods about me. And, you know, I want you to prove to me, not just give generalities, but give me the specifics that support what you're saying. Because most of your comments are not what really happened, and I have utter regard for other people. I'm not a careless person, so I don't know why you have to persist in repeating the same stuff that you did in the last meeting. So.
Actually, I would like to just briefly address that, and I appreciate you speaking to me openly. As Water and Sewer Commissioner, I have received emails or been copied on emails or received phone calls from members of employees of our engineers, CDM Smith, and of Howard Robeson, and I've had meetings with these folks. And to be blunt, I didn't want to come here with copies of the stack of emails.
Well,
But you asked a question, I'm answering your question, with concerns about why you insist on insinuating yourself into something that is frankly best left to professionals. And I will follow that up also by saying that one of the issues that we've brought up before in executive session, and I've mentioned this before also, is that we have repeatedly said, we again as a board, a majority of the board, have supported a water plan and a sewer plan, and to avoid further liabilities legally, further financial liabilities, we need to be on the same page once we've made a vote that we are all going to move forward with what the majority decides. So when we issue a gag order in executive session, and then make that gag order public, and you, within minutes of reading that gag order into the public record, discuss alternative water plans, there is a problem there. This speaks to the pattern of behavior that I'm talking about. And let me also make the observation that you love to argue facts and minutia. And frankly, I am going to say that that is basically something that I like to call smoke and mirrors. It is a way of diverting the attention from a pattern of behavior and saying, I didn't sue the town, I dropped the lawsuit. Which, by the way, did Mr. Fisher drop the lawsuit against the town to stop the treatment plant? Or was it dismissed?
It was dismissed.
It was dismissed. At the last town meeting, you alleged that the suit was not dismissed, that you dropped it. And I actually looked up, just to make sure I had my facts straight, I looked up on Case Search, and a couple of folks in the meeting came up after me. And the point of that is that everyone knows, because they could look on Case Search, that in fact the case was dismissed, it was not dropped, that was, you talk about the truth. We can check that very easily. This is the 21st century. People can get on their iPhones and check facts.
I have it.
But
I have it. Would you like it?
But the point here is that you use that as a diversionary tactic to divert away from what you are doing, which is acting against the best interests of these people who pay taxes, who live here. You are putting their wallets on the line, and the commissioners are saying enough is enough. We are tired of the smoke and mirrors, sir.
Well, we'll find out. I was there in the courtroom when that took place, so.
Okay. Have you more that you want to say in response?
Yes, I would like to see the emails. You say you have a stack of emails. I think I am entitled to see those emails.
I don't know what you do, sir. They were sent to me.
You're making accusations based on those, so, you know, when somebody's accused of something,
He's merely stating that he received them. There's no accusations there.
Thank
But,
you, Ms. Osborne.
Joanne, you'll have to give me an extra minute. When it comes down to it, I was in the meeting where Stephen was, and he told you not to go to the progress meeting on November the 19th. He handed you a letter the next day, and you ended up going to the progress meeting. That's black and white, sir. That's black and white.
okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
I know, okay. That is true.
Okay. Commissioner Marion, have you a timer?
Yes.
I'm going to open the podium for public comment. Each person who wishes to speak may come to the podium, give their name, whether they're a resident of the town or a non-resident of the town. Because we are now on Facebook, I don't think it prudent to give your actual street address at this point, although it should be on the sign-in list.
This is not the time for citizen input.
This is not the time for citizen input. You are correct. I am asking for citizen input on this particular motion, and all other discussion will be delayed until we have our citizen input on other matters.
Thank
We
you,
are
Ms.
totally.
Osborne. May I reinforce that? What Ms. Osborne is calling for is comments from citizens regarding simply this act of censure, nothing else. No other comments, no other business, no other thoughts are really appropriate.
Thank you, Stephen. I will give each resident 1 minute to make a comment if they so desire. Mr. Pearson.
My name is Augie Pearson, and as a former commissioner, I am a resident of Rising Sun. I was a commissioner. Mr. Fisher, this censure is appropriate if you were instructed not to do things. I have attended the meetings. I've heard the commissioners. give you direction to do things, specifically with this Frapple lawsuit and this water and sewer situation. Now, if you went there on Monday, and I'm asking you a direct question, did you go there on Monday the 19th?
Yes, I did.
Then you've answered to everyone right here that you did not do what Mr. Naughton, Miss Osborne, Mr. Marion, or Mr. Berkowitz asked you to do. Is that correct?
That's correct, but
Then
I don't
why
know
are we?
what authority they can bar me.
They're not firing you, sir. They're not firing you by any
I didn't
means.
say fire, I said bar.
Bar you. They have the right, sir. They have the right, because each one of them, sir, was also elected. Okay? And if you choose not to go with what the elected body said, then you are wrong. And as everyone here who has been not only a serving commissioner, a serving mayor, or ones that haven't, and Gracious knows that Miss Osborne and I had a major disagreement, especially over that lawsuit. Okay? And I did the inappropriate thing by bringing it out at a town meeting. But the point of it is, we all voted on the same thing, whether you agree with it or not. The majority rules. The majority told you, don't do something.
Thank you.
And that's the end of it.
Mr. Pierce. Young lady.
I have a pen. Where'd it go? My name is Lynn Griffin. I am a resident of Rising Sun. You guys know, both Facebook, pro-Facebook. The thing I was actually going to speak about later, I'll just go ahead and speak about now. Some of you are ex-military people and might know this. Loose lips sink ships.
1 minute.
As we said, this.
Is directly related to this.
Oh, okay.
It is directly related to this.
Okay.
Loose lips sink ships. By going against the board and commissioners, you are sinking this town of Rising Sun. And it's only gonna get worse. It's what, a $20 million lawsuit against Frapple? Something like that? Yeah, in that range.
21 million?
Yeah. Which works out to, I think they figured about $40,000 per taxpayer, which would then in turn raise the rent for renters.
I think we're not supposed to talk about that.
She,
You're not supposed to talk about that. That's my whole point, is stop talking about it, stop visiting, please. Stop costing us money. Thank you.
yes.
My name is Beth Griffin. I am a resident of Rising Sun. This will be very brief. Mr. Mayor, as a resident of Rising Sun, I have respect for the office of mayor. Many of your actions could have long-lasting consequences for both property owners and renters. Therefore, before you damage our town beyond repair, I respectfully request you show the residents of Rising Sun respect and resign from office. Thank you.
William, can't think of your last name.
Bill Smith.
Easy. Hi, my name is Bill Smith, and I am a town resident. By your own admission, Mr. Mayor, you violated the order. Therefore, you are guilty. It's not a definition, well, what if, I forgot, I didn't have anything in writing. It's a simple yes or no. You did it, you're wrong, you're guilty. You should resign from office because you are costing this town money and time. Your actions alone with this contractor will cost us thousands more dollars that we didn't even budget for. So great. Did I wake up overnight and the town got renamed Robert Fisher? No, it's Rising Sun. You need to remove yourself from office. Thank you for your time.
Any other comments?
May I just speak briefly? I'm not sure
I'm not sure we're actually staying on the topic. We need to stay
Right.
on the topic of the censure.
Thank you.
We're speaking to Mr. Fisher and saying, we didn't like what you did. We're publicly telling you we didn't like what you did, and if you want to address that issue of publicly saying you don't like his actions, that's what we're addressing at this point.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Alan Alton-Reith, and I'm a town resident, and I've also served on town boards. Stephen, I saw the anguish in your face to have to do that, but it had to be done. Nobody likes to have to go against a fellow board member who's serving way beyond what the benefit is, except to benefit the hometown we live in here. And to see the stuff I see in the paper, as a government employee for the state of Maryland for over 10 years and attended many, many meetings across this state, we are becoming the laughing stock of municipal government, and it has to come to a stop. I do not want a special tax to pay these lawsuits, not just because of what's happening now, but because of miscalculations in the past. And we keep talking about one particular one. I don't want to pay for it, and I'm getting really upset with the fact that if I stay here, I'm going to have a special taxing district, which seems to be the buzzword now, just to pay for Wellington Manor's water and sewer. And I'm very upset about it, as well as every other resident here is. And as it's already been said, you can't go against what the board votes. You can disagree, but we all agree that the majority elected, every one of you, except for one commissioner who I never see. And if anybody needs to step down, I think if you can't fulfill the obligations of the job, both need to step down. And we need to stop this right now. We need to move the town forward, stop holding up everything. We have assessed everything, we have reevaluated, we have study after study after study. And then next thing you know, we're over a time limit with everything. And we've got to move it forward, because it's going to cost us too much money.
Shelley?
My name is Shelley Sharon, I'm a town resident. Mr. Mayor, my husband and I, well, I can only speak for myself right now, but we've come to every meeting since the fiasco that happened a while back. But anyway, I'm very concerned, and I do agree with the commissioners on the censorship 100%, because I don't feel that everyone needs to work together. Things are said, and everyone should respect that, and I don't believe that you're willing to forego whatever this, for lack of a better word, obsession is with the water treatment facility. You have lost sight of the big picture, and as mayor of Rising Sun and as a town resident, the people of Rising Sun, both the people who rent, the people who own, everyone, they cannot afford to have anything like this happen. So I agree 100% with what you're doing, and I hope you guys continue to move forward.
I'm going to close the discussion session and call for a vote on the motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries 3-0. Mr. Mayor, you are now officially censured. Please take that to heart and realize that we all want you to realize that there's more at stake than just the things you want for the town. And with that, I will turn the chairing of the meeting back over to you as our mayor. Thank you.
Well, I thank you. This is free expression of your opinions, and that, I think, is what town government should all be all about. and I don't believe that what we've heard is accurate and we will try to get the accurate information out. With that, I've tried valiantly to try to carry out the campaign promises that I made, which was to make the town more cost-effective, not more costly, and I still believe that my overriding issue, if there's anybody that's entered tighter with a dollar and make a dollar go further, I'd like to see them. But, and I actually expedited, the sewer system would have not started, this construction would have not started for another 2 weeks at least if I hadn't intervened and got the grading permit. So to say that I tried to interfere with the sewer plant is absolutely incorrect. I have tried, that's one of my attributes, is to expedite things, not hold things back.
What about the lawsuit?
What lawsuit? That lawsuit predates me.
But it affects, Mr. Fisher, your actions affect that lawsuit. There's no denying that, sir, because you, as the mayor, are also named.
This is the time for the mayor's
Right.
comments.
This is the mayor's report.
I'm sorry.
Citizen comment can come in just a little while,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. So, you know, to make all these allegations is not correct. You know, I don't know how to convince you people. You can tell me how I can prove to you that my actions are not what you think they are. So, if you can give me facts that show me that I am trying to undermine the town or not make the most cost-effective government that we have, the most transparent government we can have, and the most collegiate or collaborative government we can have, I will listen. I'm a good listener, but I also am, as Chip said, an honorable person, I guess. Prudent, what did you say, Chip?
A prudent man.
Prudent man, okay. And when Mr. Naughton came to me and said that he wanted to be the sewer and water commissioner, he said he didn't have much experience, and I said I would help him. And because I do have water experience, I was a water and sewer commissioner. I wrote the grant and monitored the water system in Charlestown, Maryland. So I had an water operator's license in Rising Sun when I was commissioner to operate the water system in Rising Sun. So to say that it's just completely out of character for Bob Fisher, as you folks have come to your conclusion. So I invite any one of you to sit down with me and give me the facts that prove what your opinion is of me. So that's an open invitation to anybody in this town. So with that, we'll have the staff reports. Charlie?
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
I just have we're at the business meeting, not the workshop meeting, so there's a couple of things I want to bring to the residents' attention and then also to the elected body. Our next town meeting will be December 11th. Normally, the following town meeting would fall on Christmas. It's pretty obvious we're not going to have a meeting on Christmas, so just to remind folks of that. So we essentially have one more town meeting before the end of the year. The Explorers Post, I wanted to follow up on that. I had spoken to Mr. Westbrook earlier, the spokesperson for the Explorers Post. We have followed up with our insurance company regarding some of the I's that need to be dotted and the T's that need to be crossed. And I've asked Mr. Westbrook to provide me what he's already done, some information regarding the charter, what the goals are for the Explorers Coast, and how they expect to meet those goals. And that's simply to make sure that the town has adequate oversight and adequate insurance and takes adequate responsibility to some degree on what's going on. So I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to get this turned around real quickly and get what really is a very important resource for the youth of our community. I think it's a great idea. As I said it 2 meetings ago, I came up through the Explorers Coast in the fire service, and I know what it's like to be 16, 17 years of age and be able to hang out with a firefighter, or in this case, hang out with a police officer. And it's memories and experience that you carry with you for the rest of your life. So I think it is real important that we get this program up and going, as I'm sure the elected body feels the same way. Finances, before I have actually when I'll go through my report, and then Patricia, I'll come back to you with the financial report. The auditor, the audit has been completed. We are trying to schedule for the auditor to come in at the meeting on December 11th to give the formal presentation of the audit to the town. For Public Works, you have seen we have been installing some holiday decorations throughout the town. We were able to purchase some additional decorations because of donations that were given to the town in last year's Christmas season. Commissioner Osborne, I'll just throw out there that you can follow up with under your report, the line painting. You're going to see a contractor in town repainting the yellow lines on our streets. They're old and faded, and we were able to piggyback with the contractor who's doing work for the county, and we got a really good price, a significant savings on it. So you're going to see that over the next couple of days, some line painting. Under sewer and water, I have 2 items that I'm not necessarily suggesting that you have to vote on tonight, but I want to make sure that we talk about it at our December 11th meeting. We have an email, and I'm not going to mention the individual's name or the address, and you understand why. This is a resident who lives in town that had somebody broke into their home during the hurricane because they left their home, and they stole all the copper piping in the home. And they actually did it to the point where they cut the pipes, didn't care if the water was running, and there's a significant amount of damage in this individual's home. The police department is aware of it. Reports have been filed. And basically for the board, what she's asking is, as you're aware, we have a base charge essentially for water and sewer to be brought to a property. In other words, somebody could go on a vacation to Florida or something like that, and we don't get involved in not charging the base amounts to the property. In this particular case, she's asking for some relief from regards, due to the fact that she literally can't use any of the plumbing in her house because somebody stole all the copper piping. So what I'm asking to do is, if you guys can give me some direction at the next meeting, what I'm going to ask your blessing to do is, we're going to be doing another billing cycle. I'm going to hold that bill for her now until you folks get to an opportunity to decide how you want to handle it. I think obviously there's a heart-touching aspect to it, but as always, sometimes we have to be careful of the precedents that we set in certain things. So I just want the board to think about that. The other item is, I guess I personally want to apologize to the residents. One of the issues that came about when we switched from quarterly billing to monthly billing is the bills used to be on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And if you remember back in 2009, the elected body at that time voted a 5-year rate increase to be able to position the town to be able to pay for this $13 million ticket that we have to build this sewer plant. And we have the whole discussion of the estimated price is going to come in less, and we can resolve that later on. But instead of raising the rate one time and that huge sticker shock to the residents, they raised it over a 5-year period. And we sent letters out to everybody at that time explaining the rate, letting them know that every October the rate was going to go up. But when we were doing the 8.5 by 11 bill, we were also putting that little friendly reminder down in the corner there saying, just as we talked about before, you're gonna see the rate increase. Quite frankly, we fell asleep at the switch on this monthly, on this billing. We have the very small postcard billing, and so we've had some people calling in saying, did you raise the rates? And, you know, I just want to apologize on behalf of the state, of the staff. That's something that we need to be, I want us to be more in tune with on that. So I just apologize to the residents. The rate was adopted a couple of years ago, but I do believe it's important to remind people when those rate increases go up. So I just want to apologize to everybody for that. Building, planning, and the zoning. On the back of your agendas, you're going to see that we had scheduled for a planning and zoning, a planning commission meeting on December 10th. But there's been some scheduling issues, and it's actually now going to be held on December 18th. This is the case involving Ace Hardware that's looking to be able to sell firearms and ammunition. And as I've said before, the town of Rising Sun doesn't really have any language properly addressing that. So that's the next planning and zoning case is going to be on December 18th, not December 10th, which is on the back of your agenda. Code enforcement. I also got, and again, I'm not going to give the name because of the sensitivity of it. Since I've been here, look, guys, this is an aging community that has housing stock that's aging. And with that comes a lot of inherent issues with upkeep. You know, we all have houses that, you know, it's like an old steam vessel. You gotta adjust valves, change this over a period of time. And we have housing stock that's really old. And we have housing stock that's predominantly rental. And sometimes there are issues with the upkeep on those properties. And I've always said that it's somewhere along the line, there comes a point when local government has to protect all of the residents by saying there are certain standards that have to be met in the upkeep of these homes. And all the other communities in Cecil County are wrestling with this, where the boundary is, how to do it. And I have in the past taken elected officials to certain properties that I receive a complaint on, and I let them see firsthand what's happening out in the field. And it's frustrating that we don't have any code language that helps us address that. And I got a request from the health department today on a property, and I just want to describe to you what's going on. There's small children that live in this building. The drop ceiling is collapsed. There's bat poop, pardon the French, that fell down from the attic when they were looking up into the attic. There's a lot of dirty needles in some of the vacant apartments. There is toilets that are not running properly. There's no running water in the toilets. There's people using and selling drugs out of the empty apartments. The police department has been working on this. There's musty smell, vomit in the stairways, cigarette butts that are being ground down in the carpet here. It goes on and on. This is a recipe for disaster. And I've always said, you know, I know what I know, and I can't change that. And I've been doing this for 30 years. And I've always said that municipalities face a major event. Every 25 years, a major event happens in a municipality. And if you're not prepared for that, and if you don't deal with that, you as a municipality or municipalities will spend the next 25 years trying to live that bad reputation down because you weren't on top of it. And one of my big